have a review. I don't have a paper copy of this. It's just online, but you have another go at it. And the key is up already as well. So it's a fully worked out key, which is also there. So you can kind of follow along and see if you're doing things right. Okay. On the back side of that worksheet, I ask you some concepts, like if you understand the concept of loans and what happens when you change, right? When the interest rate is the same, but you're taking longer to pay it off, right? Like you answer some questions there, and I also answer those on the key. And I have questions here. A private sale, if you want to review how to do a private sale, it's also there. And I kind of walk you through some parts and labor situations as well. So you can work through that. It's a very good review. And I also put a little twist on it, right? This is a private sale, but then D all of a sudden says, hey, if you were to buy it at a dealership, how would things change, right? Like what kind of taxes are you paying there? So it's probably worth your time if you want to have a better understanding. So it's a review for now. If you want to go and get it and do that after today, we're going to do leasing. We're going to talk more about leasing a vehicle, right? And I will do another question, and then we'll talk about pros and cons of leasing versus buying that same vehicle, because you need to know that as well. So I don't know if you remember, I skipped some of that so that we could actually do some math, right? And just to recap, yesterday we started on page 28, right? We did the full work here on page 28, and that involved a lease, right? And so we talked about the fact that a lease payment needs to be taxed 12%. We talked about the fact that a down payment is never taxed, okay? And that in general, the total lease, when they're talking about total lease, you take your down payment, the total payments that you've made, including tax, and the mileage charge, which is also including tax if it's there. And mileage charge is basically just a charge you get. It gets added to your lease cost if you surpass a certain limit. And why would you think that is? Well, if you think about it, the biggest factor that determines the value of the car is how many kilometers are on it. By far. Like if you have a nice shiny car, but your odometer, like where the kilometers are being read on your car, is high, it's not worth as much, right? If it's low, right, then it's worth more, because the more you drive it, the more all the components in the car are being affected, right? And so it will shorten. Obviously, if you're buying a car with a lot of miles on it, it's not going to be as reliable as one that has fewer miles. It's just common sense, right? That's why they charge you extra if you surpass the limit. And an average person drives about 10,000 to 12,000 kilometers a day, right? It depends on where you live. If you live outside the city, obviously it's going to be higher. But did I say a day? Sorry, a year. 10,000 to 12,000 kilometers in 1 year. That's about what an average is, okay? So example 5, page 30, right? In Steinbach, Manitoba, a new truck has a purchase price. Do you know that the purchase price is also referred to as the MSRP? Have you ever heard that word, right? Manufacturer's suggested retail price. So the manufacturer will say, hey, that's what the price should be for that car. That's what we recommend, right? Before taxes. It can be leased for 48 months. So I'm going to highlight that. This is now turning into a leasing question, right? It's leased for 48 months at $375 plus tax, and you need a $5,000 down payment, which, by the way, you're never getting back, right? If you lease, they take it as profit. The residual value, right? Residual value is 65%, so that means that when you're done the lease, it's only going to be worth 65% of what you started with, right? It's 100% when it's brand new. When you're done, it's only worth 65 of what you started with. The lease allows for 20,000 kilometers per year, and you're charged 11 cents per kilometer after that. Then you're told that the car is returned with 92,350 kilometers on it. Okay, so it's a pretty good hint that there's going to be a mileage cost associated with this lease, right? So calculate the total cost of the lease. Just like buying privately, I always told you to do the parts and labor first, right? Do the mileage first. Okay, so we're going to take care of the mileage. Do mileage first. That's just to have that number because you know you're going to have to add it, and then you figure that out. Okay, so mileage, and this is just where I calculate it, right? So there's no magic formula for that. But what I do is I take what I've driven, right? This is how many kilometers you have actually driven. You're going to subtract what your allowance is. And then you're going to find out if you went over, okay? So you're allowed 20,000 kilometers per year. And this was a 48-month lease, so that is 4 years, right? 4 years. So that means that you were allowed an allowance of 4 years times 20,000 kilometers. This is the allowance. Okay, actually driven minus what you were supposed to drive. Okay, and so that gives you 92,350 minus, this is easy mental math, right? 4 times 20,000 is 80,000. And even that is fairly simple to do in your head, right? 12,350 kilometers over. Okay? You're over by this much. Now we're going to go ahead and calculate the charge. Okay? Cost would be 12,350 multiplied by 11 cents, right, per kilometer. And let's figure out what that is. $1,358.50, and we're going to add taxes to it already. Which is 1,521.52. I'm going to underline this like this because it's going to be important to me. Okay. So this is the cost for the mileage. That's a lot of money, right? Just for going over. So if you're a person that drives a lot, if you're out of town or you're going to, you know, Ontario and Alberta, like you're traveling all over the place, leasing is probably not a good choice for you. Okay. If you have a cottage and you're going out every summer, every weekend, right? So we've got the mileage taken care of. Another thing I need to take care of is the payment. I need to add taxes to it. Okay. So I will do total payments. Total and payments, I will take my $375, right, dollars a month. I'm going to add taxes to it. So go 375 times 1.12. That is $420 exactly. This is including tax. But I'm already going with total payments, right? Total that you made in payments. So I'm going to go take that 420 you pay every month, and I will multiply this by 48 months. Okay. And that will give me another value here. I will most likely break this down quite a bit on a test, right? I'll ask you, hey, find the total cost of the mileage. So then it'll be A, right? And then find the total payments you've made. That'll be B. And then at the end I'll say, what's the total cost of the lease? Most likely, right? So you've got mileage charge, total you made in payments, and that's including taxes. That's very important, right? And then 48 months, whatever it is, 24 months, right? This will change. So that's your total payments. Total lease. Always do the down payment first if there is one. 5,000 bucks plus my total made in payments plus mileage. And keep in mind, you tax this already. You tax, oh, that doesn't sound right here. This doesn't look right. That's a big number. Sorry. I made a mistake there. I inserted a 1. There. 1521, 1521, 52. If you add that all up, you get 26,681 and 52 cents. That's the total lease here. Upon return, right? You return it, they kind of do all the math, right? Like, I mean, the down payment and the payments they've already collected from you, right? Over the term. The 5,000, boom, you got to put that down before you even drive off the lot. These payments you've already made. So basically at the end, you're just paying the mileage and any other damage that may have occurred, by the way. You will see the questions later on. And so I think the bottom line for leasing, folks, it's always, if there are any taxes, it's 12%. Okay, there is no 7, no 5, none of that, right? Just 12%. Just do not tax the down payment. I see some folks that it's all beautiful, right? Everything flows and they add it all up and then they'll go times 1.12 at the end here, right? It's like, no, don't do that, right? That's wrong because then you're double taxing yourself. You don't want to be living in a world where you get double taxed, right? Okay, calculate the residual value after tax. So residual value is going to be, in this case, it's, where's the percentage? 65%. So it's 0.65, right? 65 divided by 100 gives you that times the actual MSRP. So we figure that out, 0.65 times 35,000, that's 22,750, right? And we're going to add taxes to it here. And that's 25,400. Calculate the total cost of leasing and the outright purchase. That's what you call it when you buy it at the end, right? So leasing and the purchase. So total with everything combined, we just take what we got in A, right? And we add whatever we calculated in B. So it's 26,681.52 plus 25,400. And that's a whopping 52,000. 81.52. Okay. I'll see if I use So we're gonna go to page 34. Go to page 34 for a moment here. There should be a table like this. Okay? Where you have advantages and disadvantages of buying a used versus a new. This has already been done, right? We talked about this, so I'm not gonna do this again, but if you would like to go and copy the pros and cons that we did, I'm just gonna go ahead and check because some of you like to be organized and have it all in one spot. I'll tell you where I wrote it down for you. From page 11, okay? So this is also found on page 11, like the top part here, buying used versus new. So if you want to go get it from there and then transfer it over here so it's all on one page, go for it. But I'm not going to redo it here. I just thought I'd put it in so that you have everything in one spot. Okay, so I'm going to zoom into this one, advantage and disadvantage for leasing. When we're comparing leasing and buying or financing that same vehicle, what are my pros and cons? Okay. So leasing an advantage. This is on page 34 if you're at home. Okay, go to page 34, bottom of that chart. The advantage of leasing is that you have a lower monthly payment compared to buying that same car and then financing the whole thing, right? You're only paying for the depreciation, the loss of value. Another thing, if you were to constantly lease, is there's no negotiation hassle. Like you don't have to, it's like negotiate. It's like, no, give me more for my trade-in or lower the price because the lease is the lease, right? And if you're done the lease, you can just drop it off, right? We talked about the 3 options. Right? You can drop off the car and just walk away, provided you didn't damage it, right? Another advantage of leasing is you always drive a new car. You're going to need to know at least have 2 of each on your study sheet, okay? You have lower maintenance costs. That one I won't put down. Safer, I will not put down either because, right, if you're comparing it to buying that brand new car, it just gets tricky. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Buying, you eventually own the vehicle, right? You never own it when you lease, unless you buy it, of course. But just strictly talking leasing, you don't own it, right? Another advantage of buying is you can modify it, right? You can't put a spoiler on a lease. You can't do anything with the exhaust, right? You got to leave it as is, right? So if you buy it, then obviously you can make the changes you would like. You can say that payments eventually stop vehicle or car can be used as a trade-in, right? That's a big component, right? You can, now that you've paid it off, you can use it to trade in and then get a newer vehicle and have that as part of the down payment almost. Disadvantage of leasing, you have perpetual payments. Like perpetual never ends, right? You keep on having payments, right? Can't modify. So I'm using some of the pros of buying as a disadvantage. Can't modify, customize, may have to pay mileage charge, right? If you drive too much, you may have to pay a mileage charge. May be charged for excessive wear and tear. That's it. That's all I'm going to do for disadvantage. What's a disadvantage of buying and financing that same car, right? You have higher monthly payments, right? You pay for the whole car, right? That's why you're financing the whole amount versus leasing. You're only really paying for the depreciation and some of the profit they'd like to make. Negotiation, hassles when upgrading, right? If you want to upgrade your car, you need to negotiate, right? I want more for my car, right? Higher maintenance in the long run. And why is that? Well, if you're comparing to a person that constantly leases, they always have the newest vehicle, warranty, there's always a warranty, so you're never going to have a big breakdown, right? Shouldn't say never. There are some, we call them, there are some cars that have been made on Friday at 5, right? Uh, those are the cars that always have issues no matter what you do, right? There's some lemons out there, but in general, right? If you buy it and then you own it, down the road the warranty runs out and there is potential for higher maintenance in the long run. So you're comparing a person that consistently leases, right, term after term, or a person that buys and just keeps the car, right? That's basically what you're comparing here for the most part. So this is on page 34, and that summarizes the advantages, disadvantages. If you want to be really well prepared understanding leasing more, there's a lot of reading that went with the leasing unit. Like there's like lots of text. If you want to have like more like a deeper understanding, I will encourage you to do that. It's also excellent bedtime reading. If you have problems falling asleep, take this out, go to leasing, and just you'll be gone in no time. All right. I think it's funny. I do it all the time. Anyways. Uh, So we have this done here, and there are a few questions on leasing that I would like you to do for the remainder of today and possibly homework. Okay, so we go, I don't know where you're at home. I hope you're done writing this down. If not, it's going to be on the video. So it starts on page 32. Let's starts on page 32 that says leasing a vehicle assignment. And I will give you some answers, okay? So that you know where you're at. So just look up on the screen here. And I'll put it right here on the side. You're supposed to get 16,720.84 for this first one. And then 13,897 for the second one here. I can fit all of them in there. So, and this one, number 2 here, is 2,178.98. So write it down, and I will give you some at the back as well. I do make mistakes every once in a while, so if that happens, please let me know. Next page. Question 3. And mainly the main reason is I keep changing this booklet, and sometimes I forget to update the answer key. 189067. And some of these are just talking about mileage. It's not necessarily the whole lease, right? Number 4. That's a bigger one. 4A, I should say. Let me put this down here for A. The room isn't quite sufficient, so you're gonna have to be conservative with that. 34,435.76. See if you can match that. 34,435.76. B is 2,852.88. Okay. And the last one here is 538.75. You got that at home? I hope you wrote it down, because you need to try some of these on your own to know where to even, what questions to even ask, right? If there's something that you're not getting. So make sure you get that. If anybody needs me to go back, I will do that, but it's all on the video anyway. So